What's up, everyone? My name is Tim. I'm an American living here in Brazil, and I want to tell you why Brazil is the best place to visit in Latin America. I visited many countries in Latin America. I love them all. The people are very friendly. They have vibrant cultures. The food is excellent, a lot of natural beauty. But I want to explain why, in my experience, Brazil is the best place for you to visit. Of course, if you have other experiences, let me know in the comment section. It's definitely a great adventure when you get out of your little bubble, your small town, and you travel to South America, Latin America. Brazil has been a place that has really opened my eyes. I've learned a lot of different things. I've met a lot of really nice people. I met my Brazilian wife. So it's a great, great place. It's been really generous to me. I'm not saying that you need to move to Brazil. I'm not even saying you need to travel, but this video should give you a little bit of perspective on traveling in South America and why I think Brazil is so special. If you want to learn a little bit about Portuguese before your trip, I have a Portuguese group, and I also do one-on-one calls to help people plan their trip or if they're planning to move to Brazil. Let me know in the comment section. I'll leave my information in the description and the comment section. Brazil, for me, is not just a country, it's its own universe. It's so big. I think people underestimate how big Brazil is, not just in terms of physical size, but also population. It's the biggest country. No, it's not the biggest. It's Russia's bigger. I'm not sure about China, but it's bigger than the lower 48 states of the United States. If you count Alaska, the United States is bigger. But it's huge geographically, and it's one of the biggest countries in terms of population. I think there are over 220 million Brazilians, so there's a lot of different people, a lot of diverse culture. But one of the things that I think is most important from a traveler's perspective, for someone who wants to see a culture, is that Brazil is not oversaturated. It's big, so it can handle a lot of tourists, but it doesn't get that many foreign tourists compared to the Caribbean or Mexico or Western Europe, where these places are super saturated, and that's becoming a big problem in the tourism industry, not just for people who are wanting to visit these places, but also people living there. That's why you see these protests in Barcelona, go home tourist. People are really getting tired of rising prices, congestion, just difficult day-to-day experiences because of all the tourists. And I completely understand that. I think we need to have a real conversation about how tourism works, where we go, how we do it, how different lodging works in terms of hotels and Airbnb. I think we really need to have a talk about that and really come to a better solution, because what's going on right now isn't working. But Brazil is not oversaturated. In Rio, you will run into a lot of gringos, a lot of people from the United States and Europe and Australia. I live here in Sao Paulo. I very rarely run into a gringo, meaning foreigner. If you are in the financial district, which they call Faria Lima, yeah, you'll see a bunch of people here for work or maybe working in multinational companies, but it's not so common. So you get a pretty nice experience. People are curious about why you're here. It's very easy to make friends. You almost never get a negative experience because, oh, there's too many people coming to my country. And I think Mexico and Colombia, that's probably the case right now. Because they're close, there's a lot of cheap flights. You can take a Spirit airline flight from anywhere in the southeast to a few different cities in Colombia for like under $200. And they have this whole passport bro culture. I'm not talking bad about Colombia. I'm saying that I think it's oversaturated with foreigners coming there, and people are getting a little tired of all these foreigners jacking up prices, maybe not respecting the local language or local customs, and also a criminal element has sprung up around there to kind of take advantage of these people. In fact, in Brazil, I've never ever had a problem with the police, but in Medellin, the police would randomly stop me all the time because they wanted to see if they could catch me doing something wrong, and that's something that's never happened in Brazil because there's just not a system built around foreigners traveling here, especially in Sao Paulo. In Rio, it might be a little bit different, but not too much. Gringos are treated very well in Brazil. Of course, you have to, when you're in South America, you have to take safety precautions. But I would say my two favorite countries to visit, I visited Mexico. It's great. I love Mexico. I'm curious, I haven't been there in like 3 or 4 years. Actually, it was 2021, so around over 4 years. And people were super nice. But I've heard after the pandemic, there are too many people moving there, jacking up the prices. People are tired of expats moving there, not speaking their language, not respecting their customs. And there kind of has been a revolt against these foreign tourists and expats in Mexico. I don't know if that's the truth. That's something I've seen on the internet. You can let me know if you live in Mexico or if you visited Mexico, if that's the truth. Colombia, I would say, is the same experience, a lot of oversaturation. Venezuela is probably not a good time to visit right now. I've never been to Peru. Peru is definitely a country that I want to visit. I hear there are some issues around visiting Machu Picchu right now, and there are some kind of fights with different, I guess, tour guide agencies where it's difficult to access the sites. Lima, I heard, is a nice city. I hear people tell me that the best culinary tradition in Latin America is in Peru. People tell me the best food is in Peru. I love the food here in Brazil. I definitely love the food in Mexico. I'm interested to try Peru. I've been to Chile, very nice country, interesting. I would definitely like to explore a little bit more in the south and explore some of the wine regions outside of Santiago. Santiago is a very nice city. Definitely think Brazil is a much more fun city, a much more fun country, and Sao Paulo is probably one of the most fun cities. Sao Paulo is kind of, at first glance, might not be the most picturesque city, but if you really spend some time living here, make some friends, it's a very vibrant city with a lot of fun stuff to do. If you want to have a good time, just think about like the New York City in the 80s when it was kind of underground, or even like Berlin, and you can have a lot of fun here, a lot of great restaurants as well if you want to go upscale, a lot of really high-end restaurants and hotels. So Sao Paulo is a really great place, and you're going to be spending a lot less because your dollar goes further here. So it's just something you can really, if you want to experience luxury, you can experience luxury in Sao Paulo for a much cheaper price than you would experience in Europe and in the United States. And Argentina is a great place. If you want to experience a beautiful city, I don't know if there are many cities as beautiful as Buenos Aires. Really great parks, beautiful architecture, really nice city to walk around, go for a bike ride. No beaches, really. There are a few beaches in the country, but most Argentinians actually come to Brazil for the beaches. And I would have recommended going to Argentina a few years ago, but I hear the currency has really gotten stronger. It's much more expensive for foreign travelers. A few years ago, Brazilians were going to Buenos Aires or Argentina to kind of take advantage of the currency, the exchange rate. But now it's happening in reverse, where Argentinians are coming in mass to Brazil because Brazil is cheaper for them. So you always have to pay attention in Latin America. Currencies are always going up and down, which is the best place to visit at the moment. Brazil has a pretty favorable exchange rate. I'm not saying Brazil is a really cheap country. It's not like going to Thailand, but different from Thailand, from what I hear, you have much more interaction with the locals, much more genuine friendships and experiences, and you can just show up at any place in Brazil and make some friends. You might get invited to a barbecue. And that's the social side. I think Brazilians are the most welcoming people of any people in terms of showing up, not knowing anyone, making friends, getting invited to things, people really taking an interest in your life, talking to you. It's a great place to practice Portuguese. If you go to a lot of places and try to speak the language, if you make a mistake, they'll just immediately go to English. But here, they love speaking Portuguese with gringos and foreigners, so they're really going to take their time to speak Portuguese with you. So I talked a little bit about the people, a little bit about it not being oversaturated. Let's talk about that beautiful nature. Brazil is so diverse in terms of landscapes and nature. Some of the most beautiful beaches in the world are here in Brazil. Recently, I've shown some beaches on the Sao Paulo coast. People think, oh, Sao Paulo doesn't have beaches, but they do, just not in the city. But if you go to the northern coast, they have some of the most beautiful beaches, in my opinion, in all of Brazil. Rio is an extremely fun city. For me, Rio is the most picturesque, beautiful city in terms of natural landscapes. It's a super fun city. If I was recommending a few days, maybe a week in Brazil, I would just go to Rio and just have some fun. It's so much fun. It's a great city. Would I want to live in Rio? That would be a different question. Those are different calculations. But having a good extended week trip, Rio is so much fun. There's always something going on at the beach. It's an amazing city. In the south, you have beautiful cities. You have Florianopolis, which is one of my favorite cities, a very safe city, beautiful beaches, and a lot of different beaches because it's an island, and you can really experience like a very rugged natural landscape and then an upscale part of the island, which is really built up hotels, built up condominiums. That's called Jurerê. In the south, it's really rugged. It looks like you're in like the land of the lost, and a shipwrecked island with very little electricity. So you get a large contrast in that island. Salvador, Bahia is a beautiful colonial city. You have these beautiful cities in the interior of Minas Gerais and Goiás as well. One of my favorites is Ouro Preto. It's so beautiful. It has this beautiful colonial architecture. You can't even imagine how these people built these things with limited technology at the time. But some of the most beautiful Baroque churches I've ever seen in my life. Definitely be making a trip there soon. Of course, you have the Amazon. I've been there. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's just, it's a place where time stands still. You take a boat and you go 18 hours and you just see this amazing nature. You see river dolphins. You see indigenous tribes, a lot of local food, fish you've never even heard of. Just amazing. Food is amazing throughout Brazil. So I would say because it's not too saturated, people are super friendly, there's so much diversity of things to do once you get here. I would say that's why it would be number one on my list of places to visit in Latin America. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.